variety spotlight on Orejona. Now this is a beautiful flower, and it's a Nicaraguan variety, Hylocereus polyrhizis, and there are several wonderful dragon fruit plants that come from Hylocereus polyrhizis. This is one of them. We have had the fruit, as you can see, and I actually got this is the same exact plant as the fruit that you're seeing right now. So I'm excited to have some more of those in the future. Very kind of raspberry flavored. I like Orejona a lot. It's wonderful. You can see in the heat wave it did abort one of the two flower buds. This one was about 6 days ago. It started to turn yellow. I guess that happens with the heat wave. Now, what else can I say? This requires cross-pollination. I used sugar dragon pollen. And Orejona can take full sun in Southern California, in my experience. It's doing quite well. And it has lots of new growth for how young this is. It's about a year old, under. However, I would like to share with you some of George Emmerich Jr.'s, what I believe to be Hylocereus polyrhizis as well. But they are definitely different. I mean, the growth looks similar, however, it just can't take as much sunlight, and the spines seem a little bit different or darker to me. So we'll see. I have several of these George Emmerich Jr. plants, and look at this one. It's very interesting. And I think it's also Hylocereus polyrhizis, but definitely different. Here's another one of George's plants. You can see it's definitely a little bit redder on the flower buds than Orejona. So I got a cutting of this one. Let's go compare the two. So definitely a lot of similarities between these two. And I'm really excited to find out what Mr. Emmerich Jr. had, but I think this is definitely some type of Hylocereus polyrhizis. Anyways, back to the star of the show here. Do take note that Orejona will get a little bit of yellowing from intense heat and sun exposure. So this is full sun, and the angle of the sunlight is hitting right here, which I wish I should have turned it, but it's gonna be fine. I will provide it with some Vermistera earthworm castings, as well as their earthworm casting tea, and that should clear this up. I used to use Epsom salts, but now I prefer using earthworm castings. It seems to do the trick better. So it's time to add some of that. All right, there you go. Orejona, most stunning, beautiful flower. And we're about to say goodbye to it. You're looking at a photo I took at the Pattaya Festival on 1S, Physical Graffiti. As you're reading the information, I would say it's accurate, except for Paul Thompson created it in the 90s. Not the 80s. And in addition, it was crossed with Rixford, which is Guatemalensis, and with Nitzel, which is an Undantus white, and that was created by Jim Nitzel. He was the first president of the California Rare Fruit Growers. He created cherimoyas, macadamia nuts, big gem loquats, and more. Now this variety is frost tolerant, and it does really well in Southern California. So now you're looking at a slide of what Paul Thompson wrote himself in his book. And he wrote that the seedling 1S, is described as attractive fruit with dark pink, very good flavor, and he gave it to many of his California Rare Fruit Grower members. Now again, a drawback is it's self-sterile, and the fruit will be anywhere from 3/4 to 1.5 pounds. Now here is our 10-month update on our plant, Physical Graffiti. You can see I've learned a lot more about this variety than that video that kind of just started our dragon fruit obsession. So anyways, here Physical Graffiti is vigorous. It did not get any damage from the frost that I observed, and here's some new growth on it, you can see. So it's just starting out. Now I did purchase this one at a big brand nursery, this Physical Graffiti, so I was a little concerned because I've seen some variation in the fruit and the fins, believe it or not. So in my humble opinion, I think there is some different varieties of Physical Graffiti out there. So this cutting now you're looking at, I got directly from Linda Nickerson, and she got it directly from Paul Thompson's farm, her husband, and her were friends with him, and this was one of the first varieties that they got from Paul Thompson. So I know that that is definitely an accurate variety. Now the bummer is here, you can see, if you're wondering why did I put some, what is that white powder on physical graffiti there? Well, that is diatomaceous earth. I've had a lot of snails come around and ants damaging the tips of our dragon fruit. So you can see this is not frost damage. This was caused by bugs, and now it's raining, so it's rotted. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait until it stops raining, and I'm gonna tip it right here and then put a bag over it, and hopefully I'm sure it will do fine. So it's a bummer. It was doing really well. It's just starting to kind of grow, and then the bugs ate it. So there you go, Physical Graffiti 1S by Paul Thompson, one of my favorite dragon fruit varieties, and now I have 2. Hey everybody, today's variety spotlight is on Cebra. Every now and then dragon fruit will produce 4 sides on their new stems. You can see that this new growth has 4 sides, and the stem before it has 4 sides. Nothing to worry about though, that just happens. Alright, here's some information I found online from UCCE. Now you can see it's a red skin, red flesh variety, beautiful white fragrant flower. Now that grayish white film on the flesh of the plant is a good thing. That indicates it's going to be more heat tolerant in Southern California, or I guess in general. Now here's an evaluation chart. You can see it now, it's at the top, and you can see the days to harvest, 40 something, I can't remember. And also you can see that I believe the brick score should be a little higher, but it does fare well in heat and cold on this chart. Now here's some new growth on mine. It's doing pretty well, and I've had it about 10 months. It's 4 feet tall. Did fine in the cold, and here now is some information I'll share that Ty from Spicy Exotics has. You can see that he says it's Hylocereus polyrhizis, of course, and at the bottom I found it interesting that he says it's, according to DNA tests, it's the same as Rosa and Lisa, and also that it's same as Hylocereus costarricensis. So a lot of people say that these varieties are different. I have all of them. We'll see what happens in the future, but you can see he got a higher bricks. He says 18 to 20. And I think he had a shorter amount of time to harvest, at least in his area. So I find that information reliable. He is a good source of information for dragon fruit, in my opinion. Now, with that data, I found it very interesting. You can see that the stem has split here on Cebra, and it's doing fine, but if you noticed or follow our channel, that our Lisa had stem rot as well, and Rosa had frost damage. So those 3 varieties are very similar because they were the 3 varieties that got damaged from the frost this winter. It's 11 p.m. and the flower is almost completely opened. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and hand pollinate it, and I'm going to use Laverne red pollen to try it out. So we'll see what happens. So here we go. Just have a really easy cheap brush, and I have some pollen down here. It's as simple as that. So one more just to be sure. And there we go. So this is a cross-pollination of Tricia with Laverne red pollen that I harvested this morning. So beautiful flower. All right, let's get back to the rest of the spotlight. So Tricia is created by Edgar Valdivia, and it's named after his daughter, or named in honor of his daughter, I guess you could say. And it's a hybrid of Hylocereus polyrhizis and Hylocereus ocamponus. And you can see I have 2 cuttings here, and it's insane that this huge 17-inch flower came off of this fresh cutting that I received. It's one of our newest plants. You can definitely see the Ocamponus traits there. See the white powdery residue? That is great for dragon fruit growers because that means that this will tolerate San Diego's full sun, and so I guess you could say it's a more sun hardy and cold hardy variety of dragon fruit. So it's very spiny as well, as you can see. And this flower here took 30 days from flower bud to this bloom. You can see in there lots and lots of pollen on the anthers here and filaments. Look at that. Some bees gonna get really lucky today. So I'm gonna collect some of that before they get here. And you can see that on the stigma, that laverne red pollen that I put on it late last night. Now, here's a picture of the fruit. You can see that it is kind of egg-shaped and that it's bright beet red with small black seeds. So it's kind of a unique shape. It has a small fins. Really interesting fruit. And if you watch the link that we attach, you'll see in the description, you can see Edgar's wife describe the fruit herself. So check that YouTube video out or subscribe to their channel. Okay, now here's the new growth on Tricia. You can see it's very lime green and it will develop that powder. Now I wanted some cuttings of this so you could see I allowed some more new branches to occur at the base. So I have 3. I'll have 3 cuttings soon. Okay. Now, again, beautiful Edgar Valdivia creation. He's created so many. He's definitely a founding father, a cornerstone in the dragon fruit community. You can see why. I mean, this is a stunning, huge dragon fruit flower. Good morning, this is Paul, and I want to do an update on Hylocereus broxensis blue. This is definitely not broxensis blue. However, I think George has it in his collection. This is number 3. So let's talk about, or let me share with you everything I've learned about Hylocereus broxensis blue. So as you can see, according to Paul Thompson's book, it's of a known origin. It's described as having a thick stem, grayish green color, wavy, horny. Its areoles are 2 to 3 centimeters apart, and there are 10 spines that turn brown with age. In addition, they describe it resembling Hylocereus ocamponus. Now, Matt's landscaping has very similar information. In addition, you can see he describes as having short segments, and the new growth is a dark green. Now, my friend got a cutting years ago from this source, as you can see, but they've never showed a photo of their plant, or their cuttings, I guess you could say. But I have seen it, and it definitely backs up as what we've talked about so far. Now, this source is the one that I used earlier in the video, and I think it's wrong. But the funny thing is I think I have all 3. So here's the wrong one from that last source that you just saw. And it will turn blue, I'm convinced. I saw the mother plant, it will turn blue in age, but this is definitely not matching the characteristics. You can see it's dark olive green, and I'll even show you, you can see that the new growth is very, very bronzish red. So this thing is definitely unique, but it is not broxensis blue. But I believe here, George Emmerich Jr.'s plant number 3 is. You can see it looks most similar to some actual photos and videos that I've seen of real broxensis blue. You can see the number of the spines. It's horny. It's very 3-sided and flat. So I'm very excited to see how this grows out. In addition, typical Ocamponus traits, you can see it's getting some new growth down here, right at the base. And I've given a few pieces of this out to my friends, and it's doing the same thing. So very similar traits on this one. Now, I don't know what this is. It's not producing the same color. It's definitely a different color if you compare these two, but the structures are very similar. So it's possible George created a hybrid of it. I don't know, but this thing is very, very slow to grow. It's the only one of George's hybrids that is rooted, or plants I should say, that is rooted and has no growth. So this is definitely looking very similar. You can see there are some differences too. So it's pretty frustrating when something is labeled. As you can see, this one was labeled Bronx Blue at the nursery, and it's definitely wrong. But I'm still excited to see what becomes of it. So there you go. I hope this helps. This is everything I've found out or known or been able to find online about Bronx Blue. It's a stunning variety. It's going to grow very slow. And if you want to grow this, you better be patient. Variety spotlight on Maria Rosa. So Maria Rosa comes from Elk Creek Dragon Fruit Farm. That's where it was originally from. And I actually got these cuttings from that farm. And you can see last year I had a small sample of the fruit. Looks like American Beauty on the outside, and the inside is a pale pink, less pink than Delight. And that knife was dirty there, so it doesn't even look that pink, so I'm sorry about that. Now, it is a very vigorous grower, and it is a great rootstock. Multiple people have reported that, and I would agree. I'm using it myself. Now, every now and then it will get an extra thorn, so I don't see any here, but I'll show you. And that's one kind of unique trait about it, is it's usually a single thorn and will occasionally have an extra one pop out here and there. Now, there is another variety of Maria Rosa out there, and you can see that one has a fuchsia flesh and a similar exterior. But this one was accidentally left Elk Creek. It's a hybrid. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere. And so that one is a false Maria Rosa, but it is a great fruit. So those fruit were overripe in April from that video that you just saw. Can you believe that? Now we'll talk more about that plant in the future, but right now I want to tell you how Maria Rosa came to be. It's kind of funny. So what happened is, long ago, these plants were cuttings in an apartment, or a rental house actually. And they were just tossed into a pile when the renters moved, and they mowed and cleaned up the back, and they just grew kind of in a big pile, sideways, all sorts of shapes and directions. And the owner, or renter, named Maria, called Linda and Gary from Elk Creek Dragon Fruit Farm and asked them to come check them out and see if they were dragon fruit. So they went and visited the plant and assessed them and took some cuttings to see what would happen. Now, several years later, they ended up being a delicious fruit. And so you can see now where they got the name. It was Maria's home or rental, and Rosa for the color of the flesh. So I think that's a really interesting story. I heard it myself yesterday. And another note is it tends to need cross-pollination. It can be self-sterile, or it appears to be self-sterile. And she said that sugar dragon is an excellent cross-pollinator. So there you go. Let me go show you that other plant really quick. Okay, so this is the wrong Maria Rosa, but it's a really great plant. My favorite thing is it's super vigorous. This is only 10-month-old cuttings, and right now there's something like 34 new branches on it. It's insane at the end of December here. So you can see here the spines are a much different structure, and there will be multiple quite often. And as the plant matures here, you can see, and it does get a little bit of horniness on it. See it right there? And look at that. We must have a snail or a slug. I will have to take him out today. But that's okay. As I said, this thing's very, very vigorous. And we'll talk more about this one soon. All right, give us a like and a subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.